Why this story matters. Stories like this remind us that improvement often comes through small, steady efforts. Quick summary: this story highlights recent developments related to budde, showing how constructive action can lead to meaningful results. Since October 2025, a group of 19 Buddhist monks and their beloved canine companion, Aloka, have been on a 2,300-mile trek across the United States, calling for peace. They began their walk for peace in Fort Worth, Texas, with the final destination of Washington, D.C. After 109 days, they arrived at the nation's capital. Shortly after crossing the bridge into D.C., the monks made their way to the Washington National Cathedral for an interfaith service led by R.T. Mariann Budd and the Very Rev. Randolph Marshall Hollerith. Would you like to read more good news about Buddhist, Trump, join, walk and peace? The monks' journey along the National Mall in Washington, D.C. Photo courtesy of Walk for Peace. The cathedral live-streamed the event and called it a sacred stop on the Walk for Peace. We are honored to welcome these ambassadors for peace who have traveled so far to be with us. Hollerith began the service.
I want to welcome, as well, so many of the interfaith leaders from all the religions in the Washington, D.C. area who have gathered together for the sake and in the name of peace.
In addition to the local interfaith service, the monks also invited all venerable monks and nuns of various faiths to make their own pilgrimage to D.C. to conclude the Walk for Peace. Venerable Bhikkhu Panakara speaks alongside interfaith leaders outside of the Washington National Cathedral. Photo courtesy of Washington National Cathedral. After a brief moment of silence and ringing the cathedral bell, Rev. Budd stepped up to lead a prayer. Lord, make us instruments of your peace, she began. Where there is hatred, let us love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal. Budd is an Episcopal prelate who has served as Bishop of Washington since 2011. She is the first female bishop of the diocese and has been a vocal supporter of peace and human rights throughout her leadership. Mariann Budd. Photo courtesy of Washington National Cathedral. Last year, she made headlines when she delivered a sermon during President Donald J. Trump's inaugural service, making a plea for the newly sworn-in president to have mercy on immigrants and the LGBTQ community. Let me make one final plea, Mr. President, she said in a clip which quickly went viral following the inauguration. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. In her full sermon, she went into greater detail. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and Independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants, and work the night shifts in hospitals. They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals, she said. I ask you, Mr. President, to have mercy on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that to help those fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Budd gives some attention to the monk's dog Aloka. Photo courtesy of Washington National Cathedral. It's poetic. Then, the Rev. Budd joined the 19 venerable monks as they called for peace, just over a year after Trump began his second term, one categorized by violent immigration raids and ongoing threats to the rights of LGBTQ Americans. But Venerable Bhikkhu Panakara, the leader of the Walk for Peace, believes that healing can be found within all people, especially during a time of division and hardship. Peace is something that we've been looking for so long. Peace is something that we are seeking for so many years, and yet we still not find it. We cannot find it, he said in a brief address outside the cathedral on Tuesday. It's been with us. It never left us. It's just that we cannot see it. You have locked it and put them in a box, and you have left it somewhere. You've forgotten it. He added that the Walk for Peace was not about bringing the peace to people across the country, but inviting them to find it within themselves. We are not walking from Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. to bring you any peace, but to raise the awareness of peace so that you can unlock the box and free it. Let peace bloom and flourish among all of us throughout this nation and the world, so that this world can become a better place for all beings to live. He then led the attendees in a moment of mindfulness, asking them to place a hand on their hearts and take a few deep breaths. Venerable Bhikkhu Panakara walks in Washington, D.C. Photo courtesy of Walk for Peace. After another speech from another monk in the group and a musical performance, some interfaith attendees headed inside for a short Q&A session with the monks. It is such a privilege for us to gather in a